Can you yeah, it's now recording. Let me share my screen. Hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So from today we will start about Okta. What is Okta? As already said that Okta is mainly used for identity and access management solutions, and then which is used to provide mainly for the user lifecycle management and let's say single sign-on purpose. Now, as an developers or as an consultants, as an administrators, what we will do in Okta, what end users will see in Okta, right? We'll see that from today. So let me show you how the Okta console look like. Let's say I already have an console. I mean, Okta tenant. We call it as tenants in terminologies. In Okta terminology, we call it as tenants. So it's already one of the IAM, I mean Okta tenant that which I am using. But from tomorrow we will create from scratch first to give you an overview how it look like. So I'm just using the my own tenant. But from tomorrow we will just create a new Okta tenant, and I will make you to create your own tenant where you can practice as well. Okay. Now this is how an Okta tenant look like. As I said, right, in Okta terminology, we call this as an tenant, Okta tenant. Okay. If you log into this, see, this is MFA. We'll discuss later part. Once after entering username and password, right, it is asking for one type of code, right? So it can be of mobile OTP related or some code which is sent to your mobile, anything. So this we call it as MFA. MFA is nothing but multi-factor authentication in the terminology we call it as, which is used on top of authentication. Once authentication is done, on top of authentication, we can use this MFA for enabling more security. Okay, and how to enable this, how it is configured. Again, we will discuss in detail when we reach this topic. Right, we will discuss in detail. Okay, the this is the console, how Okta console looks like for administrators, not for end users. So who are administrators, who are developers, who are consultants from Okta, this is the console who they can see. Which console they can see in the sense, this is the console if you see, right? So once you are done with your training or once you say you are an Okta developer or Okta consultant, right? So on which console you will be working in the sense, this is the console. These were the tabs. And okay, and let's say end user will be having their own console, right? End user will be having their own console to access the application. As I said, right, Okta is mainly used for providing single sign-on solutions, right? What end user will see in the sense, let's suppose there is an user called as Vishnu, right? And he need to have access to 10 applications in organization, like let's say workforce access and some Java related application access, let's say some Freshworks application access. Let's say he need to have 10 applications. So uh, as an end user, when he logins to Okta to access all these applications, this is not the console that he will be seeing because he is an end user. He will not be seeing this console. The console for end users will be different. The console for administrators will be different. What will be the console for end users in the sense? Let me show you. Here we have an option called as my end user dashboard, right? So even administrator is also an end user, right? Let's say you are working for some organization called as IBM or something, and you want to work there as an you are working there as an Okta administrator or Okta consultant. But even though that you are an Okta administrator or Okta consultant, you are also an end user, right? End user in the sense employee of that particular organization who will be accessing all the applications. So even for the administrators, there will be an admin console. I mean, sorry, there will be an end user console. So just remember that for administrators, there will be two consoles, and for only end users, there will be only one console. So how does it look like? my end user dashboard. When I click on this, this is the end user dashboard. So these are nothing but the application names or applications to which he has access to, the end user has access to. So this is the administrator console where you can customize this, and let's say customize in the sense where you onboard the applications and do whatever things that you want to do as an administrator, and whatever changes that you do, whatever applications you onboard, and to whoever you provide the access, the end user will see the access like this. So end user can't log into this admin console. Only administrator can log into this console. And even if in the URL, if you see the URLs, this is nothing but the host name, which will be replaced by your organization name when you are working for an organization. As is a developer tenant, as I said, we call this as a tenants. As is a developer tenant, the host name is named as developer, dev hyphen some name. But in real time, it will be named as, if you are using for any client called as IBM, then it would be IBM hyphen admin.okta.com. For any other company called as Deloitte, Deloitte hyphen admin.okta.com. And if you see, this is administrator console. That is the reason that you are seeing admin. Hostname hyphen admin, in the sense this is administrator console. For end users, you won't see that admin. You will be seeing only hostname.okta.com. So these were the two different consoles. And how, when we will be using this console, who will be using this console, in the sense this console will be used by the end users, and who will be using this console in the sense by the administrators or developers. Clear so far? Okay. Then
Pradeep, I have
what?
one question.
Yes.
Yes, go on.
Yeah, actually, you are telling that admin console is fine. If you go to that end user console,
Yeah.
uh, generally, okay, end user, like we may give like access to multiple applications, right? Like Salesforce,
Yes.
Workday, or like
Yes.
any other application. Every time I may not be the like going to access the all the applications, right? Is it
Yes.
in real time? Are we going to access every application,
No.
or it's only
See, in
then?
real time, you will not be accessing every. Yeah, go on. Go on.
Then in that case, like why you are telling that end user application means all the end applications are going to display here is only for few applications, like
Let's say in organization there are 200 applications. Let's say in total,
okay,
in organization there are 200 applications. As an end user, let's say you need only access to 10 applications, right? Only 10
okay,
applications you need access, because you are
okay.
an end user of, let's say, tester or a testing team, and you need only
Mm,
access to 10 applications. Then as an consultant or as an Okta developer, you
mm,
are the one who will be writing in a way that this user needs only access to 10 applications. So only 10 applications will be displayed here, not all 200. Let's
okay.
say if
So
he's a
I'm going.
manager and he need more access, let's say 50 applications, then he need only 50 applications need to be displayed here, not 200.
Okay, okay, got it. And just like I joined 3 minutes late, have you started
Yeah.
with what is IAM or like that, or just like you're
No,
explaining
no,
about the
just
tenant?
I started with two consoles, admin console and let's say the other console, which we called as end user console. We didn't
Yeah,
start anything yet.
yeah, yeah. Why? Because I don't know what is IAM and everything. So are you going to
Yeah,
explain that?
IAM, yeah, IAM, I gave the brief on Friday demo, right? So
Okay,
it takes times to show you the IAM. First, it has the basic things. What is the users, everything. We'll just discuss about that. It may take 2 or 3 classes to start the actual application onboarding.
oh, there is a no theoretical like description kind
Yeah,
of what is IAM or
theoretical, we will be talking when we approach that, I mean, that particular topic itself.
okay, got it.
Because now if I give a theoretical overview of what is IAM, and again I go for let's what is user, and again I come for what is SAML OR, then it will be difficult for you to sync to
Okay,
that,
okay,
right?
okay. So what about the like training flow? How we are going to cover? Do you have
It
that
will be
one?
Yeah, it will be around let's say 22 to 25 classes. Each class will have about let's say 1 hour to 1.5 hour or 2 hours depending upon the sessions. And what would be the let's say scope of this training? I already shared with Rani. Maybe you can
Okay.
connect with her. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
she will
In
share
demo,
you
you mentioned
everything.
that it is going to be 44 hours like that, right?
Yeah, 44 in the sense I just said 22 to 25 days. So which will be of 1 hour or 2 hours, 2 hours, 1.5 hour to 2 hours a day.
Okay.
It would
Okay.
be around, yeah, 40 hours plus.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, as I said, right, these would be the consoles, and going forward, these consoles, I mean, for end users, if he has access to 10 applications, then all these 10 applications will be displayed here as an images. And in Okta terminology, we doesn't call this as an images, we call this as a chiclets. The names are chiclets. Let's suppose this is an application that where he need to access, then he will just click on this application and he will be landed on the application page. This is how it works. Okay, now it's having any issue, we will just show you how it works. So if you need to access this application, he will be clicking on this application and he will be landed on the application without any prompt for username or passwords. This is how the end user will be able to access the applications, right? Now we will talk about administrators. Now, what administrator as an Okta developer or Okta administrator, what should you do, right? These would be the main tabs that which will be used. Let's say we will go to, this is just a dashboard tab where you can see the dashboard. I mean, sense how many users are present, how many groups are present, right? How many applications are onboarded. This is for the just overview. And agents, in the sense, we will talk about the agents. Agents are nothing but, let's say, if you want to integrate Okta with any Active Directory, there will be an agent. Agent is nothing but a mediator or a connector between, let's say, the AD and Okta. So these agents, once we install these agents, right, we need to see the status of these agents. If you want to validate the status, I mean, is the state, if the agent is up or running or not, then we can see here what is the agent's status. Now, as there are no agents, it's just showing the no agents and number of users, number of groups, number of applications. Right, Okta services in the sense as Okta is a cloud-based platform, right? If you see, this is a cloud-based platform. You are not going to install anything on your system, even in live as well. Even in your organization, you are not going to install anything on your laptop or on your servers, on the client servers, because it's just a cloud-based where you need to purchase the license and then you need to use the product, I mean Okta tenants. So how, who will be maintaining this infrastructure in Okta in the sense? Okta as an Okta, right? As we are buying the license, so Okta team, so the vendor, Okta vendor will be maintaining all the infrastructure in his own cloud. So in the background, he will be using AWS cloud, and where he will be setting up the, let's say, high availability as well. So everything will be taken care of cloud. We will not be doing anything in previously, right? For any IAM solutions, right, where we need to install those software, where we need to buy those softwares and install that on some, let's say, servers where we keep as data centers, data services, where we need to install those at that those data centers, which will be handled by our own clients, where we need to install and configure it, and where we need to maintain the high availability as well, and where we need to maintain the regular maintenance of those servers. Maintenance in the sense regularly updating the patches, regularly verifying whether that particular OS that which it is using, let's say Linux or Windows or anything, is up to date or not. Update that. Previously, we used to do all these things, and where we have a separate infrastructure teams as well to maintain the infrastructure of that particular IAM solutions. But now, as it is cloud, we are not going to do any maintenance on the infrastructure. The entire thing will be maintained by the cloud, by Okta vendor itself. So we will not be doing anything, as I said, just purchase the license and use it. And while purchasing the license, we need to talk to Okta team, and Okta team will take care of where these data centers are residing for you, and what license that you have taken. Based on the license, then you will be provided you the access. And in Okta there were different type of licenses, like number of the license depends upon number of users and the usage of these particular users, number of applications that you want to onboard, the usage of applications, and how many MFAs that the users use. So it has its own costing. So it will be of monthly cost or a fixed cost depending upon the purchase. And these, let's say licensing part or the purchase part, right? We will not be take caring as even as a developers or even as an architect. So there would be a sales team from Okta as well as the manager teams, I mean the security teams, who will be taking care of all these purchases and configurations. The configuration we will do, but all the purchase part will be taken care by the higher authorities, because it will be in dollars and it will be the regular renewals, right? So the security leads will be taking care of. So once they purchase this license, then they will be using our domain and creating this one, and then we will be using this. It's just a plug and play, as I said. And as I said, as this is a cloud, what happens if anything goes down at the cloud side? I mean, if any functionality of that particular Okta has gone down, how does we know? And what to do at such cases first? So at such cases, this is Okta service, right? This is the page where we can see what is the status of Okta services. We call it as Okta services. So let's say user creation is a service, applications is a service. In the backend, everything Okta in Okta, whatever we are doing in the backend, it will be used as a services. So when we click on this Okta services, this is nothing but the status of each and every component in Okta, saying that what is the status of each and every component now. Today at Jan 2025, what is the status of these services? All are operational. If there is anything any issues, then there would be the services will be down with cross mark. If you see, if you scroll it down, there are few service interruptions today as well at this particular times, right? And this got resolved again. There was an issue, and again this got resolved. And uh, and who resolved this? Does anyone from let's say we resolved it? No, these will be resolved by Okta support team itself. You are not going to do anything. Okay, this is a status of what is on each day. Even for today we can see here, and for the last 30 months, 30 days we can see here, and you can see the statuses of the services, how it shows. And if there is any issues, then we need to check here. And even on the Okta console at the top of our admin console, even once we log in to the things, if there are any issues, at the top there will be a notification saying that okay, Okta service, this service is having an interruption and we are working in the back end, and we will let you know once it is up. And these were the things that will get affected by this. Everything will be shown as a notification. And if you want to go and get more details, you can go to the status and see what exactly went down. This is just to check the status, because as it is a cloud based, right, they just wanted to inform every client that if anything goes wrong, and they should be aware of, the end client should be aware of the impact. So that is the reason they will be showing this to us. Got it? Anything? Any questions?
I mean, it's too early for me to even ask you a question. I'm still trying to grasp it.
Yeah, sure. No issues.
For
Now
me
we
also,
will get
Pradeep,
in. Gone.
you told that agent is a broker in between the Okta and the Active Directory, right?
Yeah.
So we don't know what is Active Directory. So if you explain that architecture once, so that it will be easy for us to connect the dots. Like
Okay, okay. I will show you that. No
you got
issues.
it right? What I'm asking,
You
like
got it, got it.
yeah,
See, this is just brief I'm giving, right?
yeah,
We
yeah.
never started
I
anything. I will
understand,
just
but yeah.
give you the architecture how it look like. Okay.
So in that way, it will be easy for us to okay, see the dots, like oh, what is the agent and how, what is the relation between that Active Directory.
These agents we will talk when we come up with.
Mm.
integration itself, because
Mm.
if I talk now about the agents, then everyone will
Yeah,
be
yeah,
confused. But
yeah.
I
Got
will
it.
show you how the end user architecture, I mean the end
Yeah,
architecture will look like.
yeah, yeah. That will be helpful.
Okay, let's suppose now I will tell you how the end architecture will look like in every organization, right? So this is Okta. Let's suppose this is Okta, and these are end applications. The single sign-on architecture, how it look like. So let's suppose these are the end applications, and you never integrated these applications with Okta or any IAM solutions. Let's suppose these are the applications which you use in regular, let's say, environments, right? Let's say if you wanted to access the ServiceNow URL, there would be an URL to you. I mean, for this ServiceNow, let's say https colon slash slash servicenow.com something, right? And you will be accessing this. When you hit this URL, you will be entering the username and password of ServiceNow and logging to the organization. Even for the learning portal, if you want to do any mandatory trainings, you will be accessing this particular portal and entering your username and password and logging in. And same for the timesheet, same for the payroll. So here, if you see, for 4 applications, you have 4 different URLs, 4 different usernames, or it can be same usernames or same passwords, and in cases 4 different different usernames and different passwords. But if you see, you need to remember all these URLs once, all these passwords. And if you forgot any of these passwords or any of these usernames, right, you need to call to help desk. Let's say you have forgot twice 2 things, then you need to call a help desk and say that you have forgot your ServiceNow credentials and timesheet portal credentials. Then in the backend, they will be creating 2 tickets, one for ServiceNow team, one for timesheets team, right? Where the number of tickets to the even for the service, the help desk or the ServiceNow teams where they are supporting you will get increased, right? So this is even an end user who tries to log in who need to remember everything. This is not an a user friendly nature for the employees or the end users to log in. So what happens in the real time in the sense, so not now nowadays every organization is using this single sign-on methods. What they will do in the sense, all these applications, right, they will try to integrate with any IAM solution. It can be, in our case, it is Okta, right? In our case, this is Okta. They are integrating, and how they integrate, they will be integrating these applications with Okta by using different protocols, which we say it as SAML. Different protocols to integrate to provide single sign-on solution are SAML, OAuth, OAuth or OADC, and these are the main things. We have WS Federation as well, but where this need licensed Office 365. WS Federation is only used for Microsoft products like Office 365, right? These were the main things which we used for providing a single sign-on solution. Let's suppose we integrate this application with SAML, one with OAuth, one with OIDC, and anything, any other protocols. Let's say we have integrated all these applications, right? Now, what the end user console will look like? I mean, how the end users will be accessing these applications. So here I said, right, the end user will be logging to Okta dashboard console. Okta dashboard console in the sense these console. End user will be logging to this URL. End user will be logging to this URL with the username and password present in Okta itself, not any of this. So end user will be logging to this URL with the username and password present in Okta. Once he logins to this URL, user will be landed on this page. We call it as Okta dashboard page or Okta end user page, that which I said. And once he lands at this particular page, right, he will be seeing all these particular applications as an images: Salesforce, Freshwork, timesheet, let's payroll portal as an images, which in Okta terminology we call it as chiclets, right? So these all four, let's suppose user need access to this, these four applications will be shown here as an images. And when he clicks on that particular application, let's say when he clicks on ServiceNow application, he will be landed on ServiceNow. He will be not asked for any username or password. And when he clicks on timesheet application image, which I call it as chiclet, he will be landed on timesheet application. He will be never asked for any username or any password. So here you can relate that I'm logging into only one application called as Okta and accessing different applications without any prompt for username and password, right? And here I no need to remember all these four different URLs, no need to remember four different passwords, right? If I forgot any credentials, let's suppose I forgot this Okta username and password, I will raise a ticket to help desk saying that I forgot my credentials, and only one ticket will be raised, and once it is reset, I gain the access and I can access all this application. Here if you see the end user experience, the end user is no need to remember all these different URLs, different passwords. So this is how the single sign-on works. Any
Okay.
questions?
So, Pradeep, I have a small doubt regarding. I know a little bit about Okta, single sign-on, and these
Okay.
things. But when you are saying IAM Okta, so do we also have this concept of like joiner, mover, lever, provisioning, deprovisioning, all these things in Okta? Or that's only in SailPoint?
No, we have these joiners, levers, movers as well, but those are not so effective as sale point. So
Okay. Mhm.
in such case, it just have a basic flows of these joiners, movers, and these flows, and even these need to be developed by using Okta workflows, which we say it as a automation that which we need to do. But as I said, Okta is mainly used for single sign-on for access management, and for identity management, they will go with different products. But in some cases, again, it can be used as well. If you are going to create some customizations, then you can use them.
Okay, then on the overall, what I understood is like you are implementing single sign-on where like you'll integrating all the applications. Let's say somebody a new joinee, our company homepage. Whenever you click on the company homepage, let's say I need 10 URLs or 10 applications. All those 10 will be displayed. That's all right with Okta, or you have any more like any major functionality or implementation we have in Okta?
We have different implementations. See, this is one way of this, right? As this is single sign. The other way, right? As I said, we will be logging to the Okta with the username and password in Okta. But where these users do we create the users in Okta itself directly? This is the next question. So the next question is, in rare cases, the users will be created in Okta directly. But in most of the cases, Okta will import users from few other sources, right? This we call it as HR systems.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but like let's say we have a project. There's a big project of Okta project. So what would be that project exactly? Just to implement single sign-on, that's all.
Okta main projects will be on implementing single sign itself. 70 to 80% of the projects will be on just onboarding of applications into Okta to provide single sign-on solution.
But how long that would be? Maybe like 3 months, 6 months. That's it. Or
It will be for years
oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
because let's say, do you know how many applications does an client uses in, let's say in client environment? How many applications does an
Yeah,
client have?
there might be many HR applications, other like technical
End
applications,
user applications,
ticketing
not let's
systems.
say, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
there will be
Mm-hmm.
an applications around 2000 plus,
Oh,
and in some cases we can see 3000, 4000 as well, right? And what is the, let's say you can think in a way that, okay, what if there are only 100 applications? I will onboard these applications and the application
mm-hmm.
onboarding is done. But who will be taking care of this access related issues? If there is anything broken between Okta and the service now, and when the user clicks on the service now, he is not able to access, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if there
Okay.
is any new team, they have come up with a new application, wanted to onboard their application with this Okta for single sign-on? What if they want to move out of this Okta as they are deprecating service now and they are purchasing for new ticketing tool, right?
Okay,
So there
got it.
would be not only onboarding. Apart from onboarding, you will be working on many things like providing access, creating some policies, login policies, and enabling MFAs. And let's say, as I said, right, there would be a lot of access that you need to provide. So it's just not about just onboarding and leaving the systems that you take care of this. The maintenance work will be a lot.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And do we need like any Java coding for this or?
Not much, not much, because even automation in Okta will be done by flows called as workflows, which we call, and even these workflows are no code flows, which we call as flowgrammars. It's just a drag and drop functionality where we just correlate the logic, how it need to pass from card to card. I will show you that what is card and everything, but it's just a no
Okay.
code
Mhm.
functionality.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah,
Okay,
Pradeep,
to
where that
just,
AD come here? That
yeah, I'm saying this right
oh,
now.
sorry.
The next topic is here. So AD, right? Here the AD is one of the application. It can be at the, here we call it as downstream applications because the applications which are getting accessed by Okta. So AD, right? AD even it can be at let's say to the left side of Okta, which we call it as upstream applications, or it can be to the downstream as well. It depends upon the organization requirements. Let's suppose now we are taking AD as an upstream or HR systems as an upstream. So what is upstream and what is downstream in the sense? As I said in Okta, we can go ahead and create the users directly, right? And use these users to provision the users to the downstream applications for single sign-on. I mean, to pass this user information to the downstream application, so where they can use for the single sign-on. But in real time, in 90%, 99%, in real time, we won't create these users in Okta directly. We will get these users, we will get the users from other system, which we call it as HR systems or AD system. What is this HR system? What is this AD system in the sense, right? Let's say in an organization, if an end user, if an user is joining, if an employee is joining in an organization, right? Once his interviews or everything is done, first the user will be created in a system called as HR system. There are different HR systems like success factor, workday, everything, right? Once the user is created in that particular system and his joining date is started saying that he will be joining on 20th, right? So before 20th, the user will be imported into Okta. How it will be imported, how the user will be created in Okta, it's, as I said, it will be imported, and we will discuss how this the process is done and who will be doing this. We will be doing this, how it will done when the user will be imported. I will show you that. But let's just talk about theoretical now. So once the user is created here in HR systems, right? The user will be pushed into Okta on a regular basis. All the users who are created, depending upon the schedulers, depending upon their start date. Let's say the user is starting on 26th or 27th. Let's suppose the user can be created in Okta on 20. or even 1 month in advance, right? But as I said, once the user is created, we will not be activating this user until and unless the user's start date is started, because this is the user lifecycle management that I am talking about, right? Once the user will be created in HR systems, once the offer is released, and once the offer is released, he accepts the offer, the user will be created in HR system, and this user will be created in Okta and will be in staged state, I mean not an activated state. And once the user's end date starts, let's say user end date is today itself, the user will be activated, and a user activation email will be sent to the user, where he can reset his password. Once he reset his password, on the day one itself, let's suppose every user in an organization need access to learning portal, timesheet, payroll portal. Let's suppose these three applications are mandate to every user, right? As you know that every user need to fill his timesheet, every user need to check its payroll, every user need to do mandatory trainings on day one itself. So when the user start date is done, he will be sent an activation email to reset his password. Once the password is set and he logins to Okta, on the day one itself, when he logins, he can see these three applications on end user dashboard console. This is how the flow works. Who will be implementing this flow in the backend? As an Okta developers, we will be implementing it. So as I said, HR system, as we are getting data from HR system, right? This we call in real time as upstream applications. It's just a terminology which we call in IAM, right? Because upstream in the sense Okta is acting as a middle. So where the data is flowing from up to down, right? From HR to down. So upstream, whatever let's say application that the user Okta is getting, we call it as, I mean the data where the Okta is getting, we call them as upstream applications. So what is here upstream? HR systems. In just a normal terminology, we call it. During in interview as well, they can ask what is your upstream application or what is your source of truth. They can ask anything, right? So as I said, HR systems are upstream applications. Once the data is pulled from HR systems to Okta, again, this Okta will send the user data. Even Okta has a capability to provision the users to the downstream application. It can provision, or in some cases, the user data will exist with these applications as well. They have their own data, and we will be just passing the user information. Let's say this user got authenticated and this is the user's username, and then please allow this user to access this application. If they maintain their own data, we'll just passing the username. If not, we will be provisioning the user as well to the downstream application. So these we call it as downstream applications because they are downloads to the Okta. If the user need to be created, it can be created by Okta, or the authentication can be provided. So in real-time terminologies, we call it as upstream and downstream. And where does AD comes again? AD, as I said, right? AD again can be used as an upstream or a downstream depending upon the users, I mean client's requirement. Let's say in most of the organizations, when a user is joined an organization, most of the let's say many organizations, even when a new employee is joined, they are going to create the employee first in AD itself, because they are using AD as an HR systems or one of the source of truth for the users. When the user is created in AD, and if you say that Okta, okay, all the users who I need to pull from are already exist in AD, then we will integrate this AD with Okta by using an AD agent, just a connector. This is AD agent. So whatever the transactions that need to be done will flow from this AD agent to Okta. So the users who need to be created, which runs a regular imports, and the users will flow from AD to Okta by AD agent, and the users can be created in Okta, and these users can be given the single sign-on options to access all these permissions, all these applications. So this is how the end user flow will look like, and end architecture will look like. For every organization, there would be some upstream application, at least one or two. In some cases, it can be three. In some cases, it will be only one. In some cases, it will be two, depending upon their requirements. And the downstream application, it depends upon the client. There would be around 1,000 applications or 2,000 or 500, depends upon the size of the client as well. And Okta acts as a mediator, to be frank, between the HR systems, or let's say upstream systems and downstream systems, to provide the single sign-on solution.
Yeah, thanks, Pradeep. Only one question. Thanks for the clear explanation. Only one question is somewhere that suppose if I create one user from the Okta, is there anywhere in the database Okta can maintain any database where it stores that user details? How it is going to know
Okta,
that to
Okta
provide
by
that?
default, it has a directory services. Directory services in the sense similar to a database. It's not a database. Similar to database, which we call it as directories. Directories in the sense LDAPs, right? Every
Mm,
IAM solution will use directory services. Every IAM solution will not use any database in the backend, because databases will be maintaining the structure, let's say in table formats, right? Tables and views to save the data. But whereas directory services will maintain, will store this information in tree format, right? So which is easy for user authentications. So every let's say IAM solution, it has its own directory. For Okta, it has its own directory, like similar to database as I said, but it's not a database, which we call it as Okta Universal Directory, where all the user information, or let's say the policies information, groups information that which we are creating will be saved in Okta itself.
that directory is going to be stored in the cloud itself.
Yes,
Not anyway, like it's a on SaaS
it's
solution.
not
It's
on-prem. It's
yeah,
a SaaS
it's a,
solution. It will
yeah.
be saved in cloud itself.
Okay, okay. Even for other IAMs as well, right?
No, if it is a other IAM, if it is an IAM solution which is cloud based, then it will be saved in cloud. If it is not an IAM solution which is cloud based, then they need to install this directory services
In on-prem.
on-prem. Even
Okay,
as this is Okta, right? We are not installing anywhere, right? But if it is a on-prem, let's say any IAM, then they need to install that software on their systems itself
okay.
in some
For
data
us,
centers.
no need to have the access, like in-depth knowledge of that, how the directory is and where it user is storing in the directory. No need of that one, right? For
No,
Okta
no need.
developer and
Even
SME.
even we doesn't know. Even we doesn't know. As I said,
Okay,
right?
okay,
See, I can show you that. Even we doesn't, because in the backend it will be taking care of everything. We doesn't know. We just know that in the backend it will be using Okta Universal Directory, which is inbuilt in Okta, but we doesn't know how does it save the data. We
got
can't see. We can only view the users, but in which format that it saves, whether it uses tables or it uses tree structure, we are not aware.
got it. Yeah. Thanks,
So,
Pradeep. Thanks a
Pradeep,
lot.
I have a very silly question. So, when you say directory, right? What do you mean by directory? Like, what is it?
So AD, right? Active Directory. Have you heard about any time about Active Directory?
No.
No. So have you heard about anything called as databases?
Um, I mean, I haven't like general knowledge what a database is. It's like a storage unit or something, right?
Yeah.
I'm
So
not sure.
database is a storage unit which saves the
Right.
user's data or any data in a tabular format, rows and
Okay.
columns. But
Okay.
directory services are also similar to databases, but it doesn't uses the table format. It uses a tree format, which we call it as DIT structure. Let me show you
Okay.
this.
Sorry for the
And
silly
the
question.
directory
I'm not
service,
from an
no,
IT
no issue, no
background. So.
issues. Yeah, no issues. If you see, and to everyone, right? Active Directory, right? AD. This is also directory. AD, Active Directory. So all the directories will be, we call it as directories, and one of that is Active Directory. And the other Okta which we will be using is Universal Directory. Other LDAPs, let's say IBM, will be using its own directory called as Tivoli Directory. Okta, Oracle will be having its own directory called as Oracle Unified Directory. Okay. Okay. And as I said, this is used to save the information. It can be of user related information or anything. And all these we call it as directories, as I said. So users will be saved in this format. This is a tree structure which we call it as. In the OUs, there will be OUs. If you remember, if anyone has knowledge on AD, in AD we will be having OUs. What is your main OU domain name? And within that you will be having organizational units. OU equal to country specific wise, OU equal to US, OU equal to India, OU equal to this, and within that again put OU equal to, let's say, India. Within that, okay, again sub OUs, OU equal to state wise, Telangana, OU equal to Bangalore, OU equal to, let's say, UP, something like that. And I mean, as I said, tables will be used in databases, whereas in universal directories or any directories, we'll be using tree structure. And any IAM, right, will be using tree structure itself, because these are proven that for read to get any information, let's say the users already exist in this, to check whether the user exists in this particular directory or not, that tree structure is very fast when compared to the databases. And as you know, right, as I said, what happens when a user tries to authenticate to any Okta system? When we enter username and password, it just need to pass this username and password to the directory services, let's say LDAP, anything, let's say database or anything. It just need to pass the username and password, and just to validate whether the username and password exactly matches from that particular directory services or not. So you just need to do any just a bind to verify it is exist or not. It doesn't need to do anything, right? So these we call it as bind, I mean, to validate whether the user exists or not. So these, right, these transactions, bind transactions, are much faster in directory services when compared to the databases. Databases will be stored in tabular format. When we do a just a bind operation, let's say, it takes a bit more time to validate in which table it is, to which extent it is need to go into a depth to find that user. It takes a bit time. But whereas in directory services, it doesn't take much time. It just pulls the user information and checks that whether the user credentials are matched, and then passes the required information. So if you see, any IAM solution will be using directories itself, not the databases mainly, because directory services, I mean, any IAM solution, mainly the functionality of directory services, I mean, the IAM solutions, is to validate that user exists in the directory or not for the authentication purpose. It not, they doesn't want to create anything. They will be creating, but the creation purpose will be very less, more than the authentication purpose. Let's say once the user is created, let's say a user called as Vishnu is created in Okta, he will be only one time creation. But how many times he will be used for authentication? Every day, at least 4 to 5 times. I just think that. So every time the user need to authenticate it in the backend, it need to send that username and password. So here the bind operations are more than the read operations. I mean, read operations are more than the write operations. So LDAP is mainly preferred for the read operations more. So that is the reason every IAM will be using some its own directory for IAM solutions for better read functionalities. Got it?
Thanks for the got it.
Even Active Directory is also directory. In the name itself, you can see directory. It's a directory. It's not a database.
And Indian
Okay.
our scenario agents are nothing but OAuth and
No,
the other.
it's agent is not what if I have shown you, right. Agent is some connector, as I said. Where is this paint?
Oh,
If you see,
from
this is the agent
Active Directory
from
to
Active
Okta.
Directory to
Okay.
Okta, just a connector, mediator between AD and Okta. But
Okay.
the mediator between this application and these are protocols,
Oh,
which we
protocol.
call as SAML, OAuth, OADC. These are the protocols which is used to provide single sign-on solution. And AD connector is an agent which is used to, let's say, it is used to pass the communication between AD and Okta. It acts as a mediator to communicate
Just like a
whatever
REST
we need.
services or kind of thing.
Yes,
Okay.
whatever we need, right? Whatever we need. Let's say we want to pass the user information from AD to Okta. It doesn't directly come from AD to Okta. It need to come via AD agent itself, because it
Got it.
knows to which AD it has connected, to via which username it need to connect, right? And what information, what let's say what permission does he has to connect to this particular OUs, in which OUs that the user need to be information need to be pulled from
OU means
organizational units.
organization. Okay. Got it. Thanks for it.
Okay. Yeah. This is how it look like. Now let's see uh, directories. We'll go into the directories part first. What is directory? As I said, right? The user information, where the user information is saved. Let me click on people.
Hi, Pradeep. Sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt you. So I have
yeah.
one question. So Okta is also integrated with SAP GUI. Like, is it something equal to SAP security, or it is different from?
No, it is
Uh,
not an SAP. It can be integrated with any applications which supports
uh-huh.
SAML, OAuth, OIDC for single sign-on, but I'm not sure what you are talking about. See, Okta is a platform which is used to provide single sign-on solution. So it can integrate with any application just for single
Okay.
sign-on, providing the single sign-on, but not to use the functionality which exists in that particular application. For
Okay.
single sign-on, we can use it to integrate. But to leverage the functionality of that particular application, it doesn't use us. Even as I said, right, as now when we are integrating this service now, it doesn't has the functionalities that service now will provide. Okta doesn't have the functionalities that it will just integrate and provide you the single sign-on solution, and the when user access, it will land you on the service now itself and ask whatever you want to do in service now, you can do that. Even the
Okay.
same way, if there is any SAP, we can integrate this application with SAP and provide the single sign-on solution. I mean, when the user access, when the user will be landed on the Okta dashboard page, one of the chiclet that the user sees is this SAP. And when he clicks on this particular SAP, he will be landed on that application and he can do whatever he wanted to do based on his access, only for single sign-on.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Now going for the people, as I said. People is nothing but the users. We call it in Okta as users or a people, anything. If you see, these were the users which all exist in now in my tenant now. If you see, these are the users, but you never see in what format they are saving. Whether they are saving in tabular format, whether they are saving in directory format, you will not able to see. If you want to see how many users are present in Okta, right, you can see here. Just come here and search for. If you want to find any user, you can search for here. Let's suppose I want to create a user, right? I want to create a user. Let's see what were the mandatory things. So what is your first name? Shiva Kumar. Shiva dot Kumar at the rate gmail.com. I'm not assigning any groups. Let me say that I am setting up the username. I mean password. As an administrator, I am setting the password. If not, you can ask the user to change the password on the first login. First login in the sense, let's say you will be providing, let's say you will give some password to the user. What is this first login in the sense? You have created some password and you will share this password to the end user. And when the user tries to log in to the first time, he need to enter this password that which you shared. Immediately after that, next page will be that to provide you the new password to change the password. This is user must change password on the first login. Okay, I'm not doing anything and I'm just activating the user now itself. Let's see how it look like. Save. Okay, I just selected this user to prompt, right? Okay, Shiva. See, the user is created, right? But user is created, but the password of that particular user shows. If you see, let me show you. This is the user. It shows password expired. But when you click on this particular user, it shows password expired. User is in one-time password mode. Because while creating a user, I selected an option called as change your password at the first login. I selected as a option called as user must change your password on first login. That is the option. It is showing password expired. Let me log into the end user console and see how it look like. Let's say this is the user, right? To log into the end user console, I need to access the first Okta URL, right? What is the Okta URL? This is the Okta URL, but he is not an admin, right? Let's see. Let's suppose I access this admin URL itself. Let's see what happens. and I'm logging with user called as Shiva. Sorry, this is the user that I just created, right? You do not have permissions to access this page. Why? Because this is the admin page. You are not an administrator, you are an end user, but why you are accessing the admin page, you do not have access. So let me try to access to the end user console. So what is the difference for end user and admin console? Only this admin part. I'm just removing this, entering this. Once I enter the password, it's again asking me to set the password because option that I selected is change password on first login. So the password that which admin shared is valid only for the one time, and the next time before logging into the system, you need to set the password. Let me set my password, new password. If you see, the end user landed on application page, and you already have access to two applications. How he got that access, we will discuss later. I'll show you how he got on that day one itself. He logged in, but he immediately got the access to these applications because he could see these applications on his dashboard. How he got the access, we will see. But this is how the user is created. And now open this user and see the status of this users. Now the user is active. If you see previously, the status of the user is different. Now the user status is active. So here in the cells in Okta, we have different status for each and different statuses of user, pending action required, staged. We will discuss about each and every status. Okay, next class. We are done with today, so we will continue from tomorrow. So we are just done with only the introduction. I didn't start any console here, right? We just go on through this IAM architect. How does it look like? So from tomorrow, we'll just cover this: how to create people, how to create groups, what were the groups. Within this, we have other concept called as group rules. We'll continue there. Before starting that, tomorrow, right? As we didn't start anything, I will make you sure that you create it your own tenant. This is my tenant. I will provide you the link and show you how to create your own tenants so that you can practice daily with your hands-on experience.
Okay, do we have a group chat for this, or can we create one? So we can
Maybe I will
all
ask
like,
Rani to. You can check with Rani. She will be
okay,
creating a group chat if anything required.
okay, thank you.
Any questions?
No, brother, we are good. Thanks.
Okay, come up with questions if anything. So from tomorrow we will start an actual hands-on experience in Okta by creating users, groups, and then customizations, everything. So tomorrow I will make sure that you will be having your own tenant in the first 15 minutes so that you can create the tenant and then start hands-on from next day.
So small doubt, Pradeep here. So if after the session, like what exactly, what kind of roles can we apply? Is it Okta administrator, something like that, or Okta developer, analyst?
Okta developer and administrators. But for administrators, you will be having a lot of competition. So I prefer
Mm-hmm.
you to go with Okta developers or Okta consultants. Even you can go for Okta administrators, but
Mm-hmm.
you'll be having a lot of competition because easy
Yeah.
tasks will be done by Okta
True.
administrators,
True.
just creating an users, resetting password, resetting an MFA,
Mm-hmm.
adding user to a group. These tasks will come under Okta administrators.
Okay, so developer need like Python coding, something like that, or
No, no, developer doesn't need anything coding. As I said, developer need hands-on experience in onboarding these applications into Okta by using these protocols, integrating HR
mm-hmm.
systems or AD systems into Okta, and creating an automation life cycles, creating some policies. These they need. Even if you have some good developer experience like Java experience, then it would be fine. Even though you doesn't have, you can manage. As I said, I'm into 10 years of experience and working into
Mm-hmm.
Okta from the past 6 years. But as I said, I never do any Java coding, and I never know any Java coding, as I am from basically from EC background, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
from estate. Have some fear in my from college itself, saying that Java is not our part, but I'm
Yeah,
into
yeah.
this IAM and I can manage that. As I said, right? No need of
Okay.
much Java coding. Here we have a concept called as workflows. Even we do
Mm-hmm.
some automation, but these automation will be as no code. No code in the sense flow grammars
Yeah.
we call it as, who are
Mm-hmm.
doing coding, right? We call them as programmers because they will be doing some code. But in Okta has come up with a new terminology called as flow grammars, where we will be working on creating flows by drag and drops of each and every functionalities.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Got you.
But you are going
All
to
right.
explain those all the flows, right? Which are as part
Yeah,
of
we
the
will be
developer.
working on,
Okay.
yeah, we will be working on a few flows, and I will give you an overview of how does the flow works, and when does this flow triggers, how this card works, and few examples, and we'll be working on a few flows as well to make sure that how does this automation works.
Got it. So that we can like tell them
Yeah, we
the
can go through that.
project like,
Yeah,
so we worked on this one.
yes, because even in interviews they will ask that have you worked on any workflows. We call it as workflows.
Mm.
Basically, in this tenant we doesn't see this. Even that workflows, right?
No, no, that's
This will
okay. If you
be,
are going to explain us, that's fine. Like we can
yeah, we
check.
will be
Like,
explaining that.
okay.
We will be working on the flows.
Thanks, Pradeep.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank you, Pradeep.
we'll
Thank you so
catch up
much.
tomorrow.
Good day. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.